Okay, following the success of the last podcast with Sammy, we're going to go back to the usual report format because we're still playing the numbers game and I just realized the bitrate is really low. Okay, whatever. That'll probably fix itself. I don't know why it does this, but yeah. And we're live! Boom! You guys know the drill. Dropped frames? Okay, whatever. Here we are! Let's start off the podcast by saying there are no announcements. There are no inquiries. And there's one mention of a one Raja Jackson? Oh my gosh. Where's my IV cam? Oh shoot, I gotta add IV cam updated as a source. Can I copy, and paste? Minimize that to, let's say, 1600. Yeah. Maybe. Let's go 1550. Okay. That looks good. Alright. We have a mention of Raja Jackson. I've seen this several times in the past few days on the daily bar writing streams and, you know, in media before I even got to the bar writing stream. But this is bad. This is bad. I mean, this is how you bring pro wrestling to the mainstream, apparently, by working a shoot incident and letting it all play out. There are the details. You know the details. He was concussed. Raja Jackson was concussed prior to this. You guys already know. You already know. Next. That's it. That's it. That's all the announcements, inquiries, and mentions. Now we're going to go to the most exciting part of the podcast. Reading articles. Here we go. This is a Q&A, from Pew Research Center's Jen Hatfield. Q&A. How Pew Research Center estimates the number of unauthorized immigrants living in the U.S. Between 2021 and 2023, the number of unauthorized immigrants living in the United States grew from an estimated 10.5 million to 14 million, according to a new Pew Research Center report. That is the largest two-year increase in more than 30 years of our estimates. The 14 million figure is also a new high, though preliminary data shows the population likely continued to grow and peaked in 2024. In this Q&A, we speak with senior demographer Jeffrey S. Passel about how the center estimates the number of authorized immigrants in the U.S. The interview has been condensed and edited for clarity. How does Pew Research Center define unauthorized immigrants? Unauthorized immigrants are those who are not members of any of the groups the U.S. has approved for legal immigration. Legal permanent residents, refugees, people granted asylum, and legal temporary migrants. Foreign students, for example. The term unauthorized immigrants combines immigrants whose status is impermanent, precarious, or both. For example, many unauthorized immigrants entered the country illegally. Others entered legally with a work or tourist visa, but stayed longer than allowed. And others entered the U.S. legally with a temporary precarious status. Though the term isn't perfect, it's been used for decades by researchers to estimate the size of this population, and is generally, I'm trying to talk without biting my tongue, and is generally preferred over terms like undocumented immigrant or illegal immigrant. Why is it important to know how many unauthorized immigrants are in the country? Unauthorized immigrants make up about 4% of the US population. It's important to have a sense of their number, who they are, and what their roles are in the economy when government policies affect them. Our estimates help provide insight into these factors, as well as how their population size has changed over time, where they're from, where they live in the US, and how long they've been here. One example of what we can learn from these estimates is that many US families include both unauthorized immigrants and US citizens. About 12 million people who are US citizens or legal immigrants live in households with at least one unauthorized immigrant. How do unauthorized immigrants enter the country? Is this the audio bit rate? No, it's not. As mentioned earlier, unauthorized immigrants enter the country in different ways. For many years, there were two main categories of unauthorized immigrants: people who entered the US illegally, and people who enter the US legally but overstay their visa or otherwise violate the terms of their admissions. Historically, the majority of unauthorized immigrants entered the country illegally. The share who had overstayed visas grew in the 2010s. In recent years, a third but smaller category of unauthorized immigrants has emerged as the federal government has created new programs. People who enter the US legally with temporary protection from deportation that the government can revoke if immigration policy shifts. This third group includes migrants from certain countries facing war, natural disasters, or other crises, as well as individuals who are paroled or released at the US-Mexico border. In 2023, about 2 million of the 14 million unauthorized immigrants living in the country had been admitted into the U.S. with precarious statuses. Why is someone who was given permission to come to the United States or to live and work here considered an unauthorized immigrant? In recent years, an increasing number of immigrants have had temporary statuses that protect them from deportation. They are grouped as unauthorized immigrants because their statuses can be revoked, sometimes quickly, by the President or Congress. The Trump administration has revoked the protections of many unauthorized immigrants this year. More than 500,000 immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela who were paroled into the U.S. between October 2022, and November 2024 had their temporary protection removed and work permits invalidated in 2025. The administration also allowed temporary protected status program protections to expire for 350,000 Venezuelans and 350,000 Haitians. How many immigrants had these protections in 2023? In 2023, more than 40% of unauthorized immigrants had some protection from deportation, about 6 million of our estimated 14 million total. This figure is up significantly from 500,000 in 2007 and 2.7 million in 2021. Protected groups include asylum applicants, immigrants who entered the U.S. legally after receiving parole, victims of crimes or violence, those with TPS, enrollees in Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, a program for immigrants who were brought to the U.S. illegally as children, migrants who the U.S. Border Patrol released into the U.S. How did you estimate the number of unauthorized immigrants in the United States? Conceptually, our method for estimating the size of this population is fairly straightforward. Let me look up something. Are DACA recipients illegal aliens? Give me this. Is a deferred action policy implemented by the Obama administration in June 2012. It is aimed at protecting qualifying young, undocumented immigrants who came to the U.S. as children, temporarily shielding them from deportation and providing them work authorization with possible renewal every 2 years. DACA protections can be revoked by the Department of Homeland Security, and DACA recipients continue to lack legal status and a pathway to citizenship. Oh, interesting. DACA recipients came to the United States from all over the world, representing almost approximately... Almost approximately 100 different birth countries, but approximately 80% of them were born in Mexico. The average DACA recipient arrived in the United States at age 7 and has lived here for more than 20 years. Because DACA required children to have arrived in the U.S. 5 years before its 2012 implementation, younger dreamers are not eligible for DACA. Demonstrate the following. All of them? That they came to the U.S. before age 16, that they have resided here continuously since June 15th, 2007, that they do not currently have legal immigration status, that they were present in the U.S. on that day, that they were under the age of 31 on that day, that they are currently in school, have graduated or obtained a GED certificate, or that they have been honorably discharged from the military, that they have not been convicted of a felony, significant misdemeanor, or 3 or more misdemeanors, and do not otherwise pose a threat to national security or public safety. Okay, interesting. Alright, where was I? What was I reading? Okay, how did you estimate the number of unauthorized immigrants in the United States? Conceptually, our method for estimating the size of this population is fairly straightforward. 1. Estimate the number of immigrants who are in the country legally. 2. Use data from a national survey or census to estimate the total number of immigrants, legal and unauthorized, living in the country. And number 3, subtract the number of legal immigrants from the total. Our methodology includes many more details and refinements, but the basic calculation comes from this simple relationship. Data for the total immigrant population comes from National Census Bureau surveys that ask respondents where they were born. They do not ask about immigration status. These surveys have large samples and have been conducted for many years. Annual data on the number of people admitted to the U.S. as legal permanent residents, also called LPRs or green card holders, refugees, or people granted asylum, is available mainly from the Department of Homeland Security. So counting this group is more straightforward than trying to count the number of unauthorized immigrants directly. We use the annual totals to estimate the current population of immigrants in the country legally, after accounting for deaths and departures. In December 2024, the Census Bureau changed its U.S. population estimates, acknowledging much larger immigration flows than it had previously measured. Has this affected your estimates? Yes. Since 2005, the American Community Survey, ACS, has provided the data we use to estimate the total number of immigrants living in the U.S. The population figures, or survey weights, in the ACS rely on another Census Bureau program that provides national and state-level population estimates each year. Population estimates are released every December for the current year and all years since the most recent decennial census. Sometimes the Bureau also changes the method for its estimates. It did that for its estimates released in December 2024, which covered 2021 to 24. The new estimates changed how the Bureau measured net international immigration in a major way. The updated national population estimates for 2023 included about 2 million more immigrants than the previous methodology had indicated. Almost all of those additional immigrants were unauthorized immigrants who had arrived since 2021. Though the Bureau updated its U.S. population estimates for 2022 and 2023, it did not retroactively adjust its surveys for those years or for the weights we use to estimate the number of immigrants. That means the data the Bureau had previously released for those years is not consistent with its newer, better estimates. For our new estimates of the unauthorized immigrant population, we re-weighted the data for the 2022 and 2023 ACS, so the estimates are comparable across years and align with the newer data on international migration. As a result, we revised our estimate of the unauthorized immigrant population for 2022 upward from 11 million to 11.8 million. Why are your most recent estimates from 2023? Isn't there data for 2024 and 2025? Well, there is some data for 2024 and 2025 that can shed light on the trends in the unauthorized immigrant population. It's less comprehensive and complete. The ACS, our main data source, is not released until September and October of the year following the survey. As a result, the most recent ACS data we currently have is for 2023. The Census Bureau's Current Population Survey, CPS, is a more timely source, as it comes out monthly. But its scope is much more limited, and it samples only about 3% as many people as the ACS. That greatly limits its usefulness for estimating the size of the unauthorized immigrant population. Nonetheless, CPS data and other federal sources can provide limited information about possible trends and changes in the total immigrant and unauthorized immigrant populations. For 2024, administrative data on arrivals of immigrants and CPS data on trends in the total immigrant population point to continued growth in the unauthorized immigrant population through the early part of the year. In the last half of 2024, that growth likely slowed. For 2025, monthly CPS data shows that the total immigrant population decreased by June, which implies that the unauthorized immigrant population did as well. While we can't definitively estimate the size of the unauthorized immigrant population from this data, the trend suggests that the unauthorized immigrant population was probably larger in mid-2025 than in 2023. Can I calculate the number of unauthorized immigrants for 2024 and 2025 by adding the number of people that Border Patrol reported coming into the U.S. to your estimates? No. It is correct that the people Border Patrol releases or paroles into the U.S. do count as unauthorized immigrants. I'm just reading this on autopilot. I haven't synthesized most of this information yet. However, adding these counts to our estimates will result in inaccurate totals because this does not account for other ways that the number of unauthorized immigrants can change. Historically, the number of unauthorized immigrants has been very dynamic. The number can increase... Hold on. The number can increase as more people enter the U.S. without authorization, overstay visas, or are paroled into the country. It can also decrease as immigrants leave the U.S., either voluntarily or through deportation, die, or become an LPR or get asylum. From 2007 to 2019, the number of unauthorized immigrants decreased by more than 2 million as more people left than entered the unauthorized immigrant population. On the other hand, it increased by nearly 4 million from 2019 through 2023. How do you ensure your estimates are accurate? We've changed our methodology over the years as more and better data has become available. Both parts of our estimate, the number of legal immigrants and the number of total immigrants, are based on data from reliable sources. We also adjust our estimates to account for immigrants, both legal and unauthorized, who are missed in the national surveys. We use Census Bureau studies of undercount to make these adjustments. We also use other data sources to assess the accuracy of our estimates, including data on, on birth rates and death rates, as well as surveys and censuses in other countries. For example, Mexico, which accounts for the largest number of unauthorized immigrants to the U.S., has its own census and surveys that give us a better idea of how many unauthorized immigrants from Mexico we might be missing. We can then apply what we learn to the broader unauthorized immigrant population. Finally, the ACS can be compared with the CPS, a smaller but more timely Census Bureau survey to check the comparability of our estimates. Yeah, keep biting my tongue. Meh. All right, so that is Pew Research Center's article Q&A about unauthorized immigration. Next, we have from NPR's Brittany Lewis. Hold on. Brittany Lewis.
Rampton Arabluay.
Rampton Arabluay. Barton Girdwood.
Barton Girdwood.
Barton Girdwood and
Nina Pathak.
Nina Pathak.
Nina Pathak. Okay. From Brittany Lewis, Rampton Arabluay, Barton Girdwood, and Nina Pathak of NPR. Cringe culture says stop. We say lean in. Those who dare to cringe will inherit the earth. Was it the acoustic guitar, the cell phone lights swaying in the background, or was it the lyrics of the song itself? Whatever it was, the impact was immediate and brutal. According to the internet, Brendan Abernathy was unequivocally cringe. Abernathy is a singer-songwriter living in Texas who went viral earlier this year for an earnest performance of his song "Married in a Year." He was relatively unknown before this moment. Oh, I see. He was relatively unknown before. Drewski parodied this. I remember this. He was relatively unknown before this moment, but the video garnered millions of views along with countless parody videos from comedians and social media users. Oh, no, don't play that. There's no audio, right? Good. Rampton Arabluay, co-host of NPR's Throughline, spoke to Abernathy about how to cope with the criticism and shares his insights with It's Been a Minute host Brittany Lewis. They also get into the rise of cringe culture, where it comes from, how it's hurting us, and how leaning into cringe is good for art. For the sake of brevity, I won't read the names. What happens when a cringe video goes viral? Oh my gosh. It was really hard. Also, some of it was really funny, and I can recognize both of those things at the same time. Well, what parts of it were hard? People were treating me like I'm selling out stadiums. I'm struggling to sell 100 tickets, and people are acting like I'm some massive industry plant who can they just tear down. It's like, you can't tear me down, guys. I'm poor. I lived out of my car for 4 years. You can't really tear me down any more than I'm already down. You hope for a long time that you're going to get a breakthrough into, just more ears having an opportunity to hear your music. And then when it happens and you're getting mocked, laughed at, told to take your own life, whatever, it's just really confusing because everything that I know about myself and my music, the internet is saying the polar opposite of that. If you search my name on TikTok, the third result was Brendan Abernathy fake. That's what hurt the most, was that everything I've built my life on, which is being authentic and being vulnerable, I was being viewed as the complete opposite of that. That's what hurt. And most people who reacted negatively, it created this. Ew. Cringe. Where did cringe come from? I think it's kind of a callback to another era in American culture. For us, it would have been middle school, but I think it's the 90s. I think we both grew up in a time where it was not cool to try hard. So the terms that were used then were lame, corny, poser. It was all about authenticity and wanting to appear to not want it too much. The language has changed, but the sentiment is basically a callback or a cycle back to that time, in my opinion. And that feels also like a direct refutation of kind of Obama-era woke earnestness. Yes, And in a way, Brandon's music also calls back to that time. It sounds like a lot of music from that time. There was nothing worse than being called a poser when we were young. And I think there's nothing worse than being called cringe today for young people. Does it pay to go viral? Virality doesn't necessarily equal money, but Brendan does have at least something out there about himself. And one of his songs is a lot more well-known. Try not to bite. Is a lot more well-known than maybe he had ever anticipated it being this early in his career. Yeah. Okay. If we live in a world in which, like, all publicity is good publicity, right? If that whole thing is true, we're selecting for people who see money opportunity in being made fun of and can, like, flip and turn that. And on one side, I can see that being admirable. But I can also see that being the kind of traits of a sociopath. Do we have a future of, sociopathic adjacent people becoming successful, and then the sensitive souls who aren't as cynical about the world basically being washed away by this, like, wave of hatred? I mean, is that the future, or is that now? Ha 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 ha. Yeah, well, okay, there you go. Like, those who dare to cringe would be the ones who are great. Yes, that is like I'm gonna pause on that word. Of a Theodore Roosevelt quote about, like, those who get in the ring, who dare greatly, who get down in the ring and fight. Yeah. Well, it's all about daring greatly, as opposed to like specifically achieving one thing or another. Like, maybe it's those who dare to be cringe, The world belongs to those who dare to be cringe. The cringe will inherit the earth. Yeah, blessed are the cringe, for they shall inherit the earth. You calling me cringe? Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. You calling me weak? Meek is from the Bible. Oh, I ain't ever read that book. The cringe will inherit the earth. Oh, I'm going to keep that in my mind when it's time for me to make my first TikTok and I'm, like, crying on the inside. I want to crawl out of my skin. I'm going to remember that. Thanks. Okay, that's the NPR article. This is going to be a short podcast episode. Next, we have... This is the BBC article I've chosen in an incognito tab because my subscription expired. Well, I didn't have a subscription. It's asking me to subscribe. But from BBC's Natalie Sherman, Musk firms sue Apple and OpenAI, alleging they hurt competition. Two Elon Musk-backed businesses have officially sued Apple and OpenAI, accusing them of joining forces illegally to block threats from potential competitors. The lawsuit, filed in the US by X and XAI, takes aim at Apple's decision to integrate OpenAI's chatbot into the operating systems of its smartphones, an exclusive arrangement that it says violated competition law. The filing makes good on a threat Musk had lobbed against the two tech giants earlier this month, when he alleged that Apple favored OpenAI in its App Store rankings. Apple did not immediately respond to a request for comment, while OpenAI said the filing was consistent with Mr. Musk's ongoing pattern of harassment. Musk and OpenAI's Sam Altman founded OpenAI together in 2015. Oh, interesting. But the two have since become bitter rivals, with Mr. Musk accusing Mr. Altman of leading OpenAI too far from its founding in the name of public good. Their fights have intensified as Musk has launched his own AI firms, including XAI and Grok, a chatbot alternative. In the lawsuit filed in federal court in Texas, Musk's firms claim there is no valid business reason for the Apple-OpenAI deal to be exclusive, arguing that the 2024 arrangement has made it harder to compete and gave OpenAI access to the prompts and activity of millions of Apple customers. It says the deal also gave the ChatGPT app an edge in the App Store, boosting its downloads relative to other generative AI chatbots. The Apple-OpenAI arrangement has foreclosed competition among generative AI chatbots, deprived competing generative AI chatbots of scale, and reduced quality and innovation, the two companies said in the lawsuit. All of these impacts have, in turn, helped OpenAI and Apple maintain their monopolies. OpenAI controls roughly 80% of the generative AI chatbot market in the US, according to the lawsuit, while Apple claims about 65% of the smartphone market. Its tie-ups with other tech giants and App Store practices have been the subject of numerous legal battles, including a high-profile anti-monopoly lawsuit against Google. Apple has previously defended its App Store practices, saying they were fair and free of bias. Several ChatGPT rivals, such as DeepSeek and Perplexity, have topped the App Store charts at various points since 2024. The company was also recently reported to be in talks with Google over using the company's Gemini chatbot to help power its voice assistant, Siri. And that's it. AI can't write comedy. Tina Fey. AI also struggles with writing some raps, too. It can't synthesize a verse if you give it... I don't know. Okay, we're going to switch now to the 10 swipes. Let me close that. Put this here. Put that here. Close that. And I'm going to pull up Notepad on my computer. Should probably do that at the beginning of the podcast. Okay, we're going to do the 10 swipes challenge, not the 10 videos challenge. This is the first one. Frank. Whatever, who cares? Jimmy. Peter. Bob. Chris. Or Smith. Swipe 1.
Your fucking teeth bleed every fucking time you brush. Your gums are swollen as hell, and your breath fucking stinks like a dumpster.
Are you playing Roger's theme right now? No, dude. No, it's not Roger's theme, man. The problem was who stole the TV.
Your fucking teeth bleed every fucking time you brush.
Swipe 1 doesn't count. This is an ad.
Your breath fucking
1. The flip is this. Swipe 1. Boys from Maine versus boys from any other state. Swipe 2. Doesn't count. You get rewards. Swipe 2. Told him I'd buy the new Nintendo Switch if he did this with me. This is dumb. I did this trend. Last week, actually. Last week, I did this trend. And I mean, I did it, but, I mean, I'm not fulfilled. That did not fulfill me in any way, shape, or form. This is goofy. Swipe 3.
Bro, I told you no smoking in my car. What are you doing?
Bro, I'm not smoking, bro. What do you mean?
This is TikTok Shop, doesn't count.
Never gonna need these ever again, bro.
Swipe 2. I think this is number 2. Ew. Ew. Well, I mean, I kind of almost involuntarily did it. It's just, I was peer pressured, and I said it's just a dance. So I did it, and I thought, nah. Swipe 2. Top 5 places to eat in Maine. What the flip? No. I keep swiping the wrong way. 88. Seacoast Pizza. Angelina's. Poppy's. Who the flipper? No. Well played. Number 3 doesn't count. Spindrift ad. Number 3. Let's all agree. Race doesn't matter. If she bad, she bad. This is swipe 3, right? Swipe 4. You know what? It says it reposted. Flipping everybody's account is public. Who cares?
Thou shalt show no fear. In the mighty eyes of the Lord I shall hold my post. This is where I make my stand.
Swipe 5. This is a sponsored ad.
Definitely live in your area. I really wish I just didn't check this app. It shows you a map of where
Swipe 5. The whole Cars 2 movie sped up, pitched up so I don't get sued. Swipe 6. SpongeBob Crash Out.
Who cares about a stupid star?
Gee, Patrick, it seems like you would care a lot about stupid stars.
Swipe 7. Pokebank.
Snover and do you know
Swipe
the
7.
string theory?
The invisible string
The
theory.
universe will keep two people apart until the timing is right. When they finally meet, there will be so many coincidences in the timing. But if one thing would have fallen out of line,
I'm writing about this.
never crossed paths. But the universe aligns, and they will realize everything they just went through before they met was just preparing their heart for them.
Okay. Swipe 8. People you may know, who cares? Swipe 9. Or swipe 8 still. Did you know that TikTok No! What the flip? Did you know that TikTok doesn't let you type KSOS in the comments? Try it out. No, I won't try it out. Consulting content thrives on TikTok Live. Who cares? Swipe 9. What town in Massachusetts has the most bops?
going to surprise you. At number 20 is Winthrop, Massachusetts.
Most bops?
Number 19 is Randolph,
Nah.
Massachusetts.
What's number 1? It's definitely Boston.
Town with the most bops is Randolph, Massachusetts.
You just said Randolph was
Town
in the last.
Massachusetts has the
Number 10.
Beats a jet to holiday. And right now, nothing beats it.
Alright, that's the 10 swipes challenge. That was bogus. That was quite silly. Alright, freestyle time. Hey, yo! What was the first article? It was the Pew article. Pew tallies up the illegal immigration. Cringe is the new wave of recreation. Musk has the money to take out all the competition. TikTok 10 swipes. Still part of my tradition. That's a freestyle. And that's the end of this week's podcast installment. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.